winter turns spring. Walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their thing. Walking in winter turn to spring. Walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their thing. Walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their feel like making love to you. Rolling in the park, watching winter turn to spring. Walking in the dark, seeing lovers do their thing.
Akudama, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, you know, all the swindlers, all the brawlers, not so much the cutthroats. You guys are fucked up. Not so much the doxers. Don't call me anymore. You're also fucked up. You know, well, this is Akudama Drive, ladies, gentlemen, MBs. We are on episodes 7 through 9, and, you know, the board has shifted again. The chess pieces have been moved. Some of them have been flipped over entirely. It's bit crazy. And although then again, episode 9 is called The Shining, so I wasn't exactly expecting it to be a stroll in the park. The Shining. Well, actually, I suppose you could technically. I was going to jokingly say The Shining. The episode was, no one's going to describe it as a romantic comedy, but depending on how you look at it, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, all rambling aside, I am Shaden, also known as the Drunkard, and joining me, of course, is my fellow Akudama in and out of crime. It's not doing the time. It is, of course, the Negotiator, aka the Subtle Doctor.
It's me, the rarest tomato. Here, having a good Friday. Hope everyone else is as healthy and as well as they can be. I did not realize until earlier when I was checking the YouTube and copying over certain tags and metadata to this current video that we're doing that I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore the last Akudama stream, which I try not to do as a rule, but it wasn't happening this week.
The thing is, Doc, you're the Negotiator. So what I need to point out is that what's happened here, or I imagine has happened, is your wife has said to you, that's the same shirt you wore on the same day last week, and you went through what might have been a potentially long and complicated discussion with her in order to make her be okay with, you wearing that shirt, and you ultimately won out. You are a negotiator after all. And hey, sometimes maybe you have to negotiate with yourself, and you think, I want to keep it consistent. I want to, keep presenting myself exact same way, stream on stream, which is also why your hair has changed color. But never mind.
Exactly.
Then again, changing hairstyles is not unusual for Akudama, as we find out in these episodes. Everything meshes together.
Man, if I had to negotiate for my general dress, I would just be that would be a sad fact. Also, I want to offer a dissenting opinion. The doctor can still call me. Thank you very much. You can hop off the Horden train if you so desire. But no, me still on it. Still, in fact, I've taken your seat. You had a closer seat, but now that you jumped up, I'm like, no. And so I've taken your seat near the front.
Well, to be fair, she was sitting on the hoodlum for a bit. Sorry,
man.
I mean, to be fair, we basically learn in these episodes that if you want to boil down what she wants to do, she wants to always remain on top, and she certainly proved that to him.
She wants to top God. This is what it sounds like. Basically.
Yep. Pretty much, yes, in every sense of the word.
I'm all about it. Go for it. Live your best life. Go off queen, as they say.
Christ. I mean, she's only probably been around for 300 years at this point. She might as well.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows how old she is, right? I mean, I was kind of curious. Hoodlum smartly did not offer an answer, but I wanted to know.
Yeah, he's still alive somehow, inexplicably.
I know. Yes. The beneficiary of her of Doctor being a human.
I'm surprised he literally didn't wake up with his how should we say, his under the hood limb, caught between one of his fingers with one of those Chinese finger traps, just because she would have probably quite enjoyed him suffering from that. But anyway.
Right. So this goes to show you, she's not just some trope. She's not some walking stereotype of a mad lady. Like, he woke up and he was not gagged. He didn't have any chains or straps tied to him. No one was in leather. They just did the thing. You can't judge a book by its cover, Shadon. You might think so, but you truly can't.
Well, there's still time. But anyway,
she's a freak in the streets, but in the sheets, it's more conventional.
Yeah. I probably should explain to everyone that we're getting this discussion out of the way early so we can try and avoid it later. I mean, when you just watched episode 9 and you're like, wait, I know she literally steps on him last time. I know there are probably plenty of fans of the show who want her to step on them as well. But I didn't think it would go from that to, Hoodlum waking up and he's like, it's all there. My God, it's all still there. How is this possible?
No. I am whole. There are no sutras in me. Anywhere.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if she just literally just said, "Oh, this is yours, by the way. You dropped this." And it just turns out to be his kidney. Just one of his kidneys. And he's just like, "What the?" Anyway. Joking fan fiction headcanon aside.
That's what's in the little baggie.
Oh, no. So, joking fan fiction aside, we're here today to discuss episodes 7 through 9 of Akudama Drive. This is our Stream of Thought series, which is free to all. Everyone can enjoy it. I hope everyone enjoys it. You know, we proposition ourselves as a bad podcast, but that can sometimes be good. And, you know, maybe we just sometimes can be plain good as well. So that's my hope. But we're going to go through, of course, talking points. We talk about creatives. We're going to give a very brief synopsis of the plot of these 3 episodes, which I think this time is going to be your responsibility, Doc. You get the 2-minute challenge.
God.
Better be ready for this.
I was not preparing for this.
Do you want me to do it then?
No. I got it. Let's follow the rules.
You got it. Okay, fair enough then. And we also have Patreon questions, which we'll be answering in due course as well. So we might as well get underway, and I'm going to therefore go straight to, before we do the creatives and the Patreon questions, Doc, I'm going to give you your 2-minute challenge.
Put 2 minutes on the board.
Bing. Yep, I will do so. So, what is the 2-minute challenge? Basically, Doc has to explain the plot of these episodes in 2 minutes or less. It's as simple as that, really. And as long as he covers all the basic points, that's fine. Anyway, Doc, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm limbered up.
All right.
I'm loose.
All right.
I'm ready.
Through the power of the Windows 10 alarm clock, we will begin in 3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so Brawler is dead, and Hoodlum is not happy about it, but Brother does not care. They're here. They're where they're going to go. Where are they going to go? Space. More specifically, the moon. And then it's time for story time. It's time for Little Brother to tell you what's up. He was an experiment. He was 2,502 at a giant clone gene pool. He and his sister were both that, and the deal was someone called the Headmaster was trying to create immortality, and now they've done it. So he and his sister are immortal, and they're running from these people because the professor, an AI with compassion, allowed them to escape. And so now they're going to go to the moon, but oh wait, the executioners are here, and the moon is an illusion! So fuck all of you. And then Doctor says, fuck all of you. I will betray you for money and glory, and then turns them all over to the executioners. But no, they escape. God damn it. They get out of there. It's sister and swindler, and Brother gets caught, but not before dropping his baggie into the hands of Courier. Episode 8, their sister and Swindler in the rocket, it crashes, but they make their way across the rest of the waste to Kansai again. At some point, they go into a garbage treatment plant. Swindler pops her cherry as a murderer, and also Courier shows up and saves them. How am I doing on time?
You are 5 seconds remaining.
Oh no! And then episode 7 happens. Float Pharma. There's a rare tomato.
Ding, 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 ding. It's over. It's over. Game over. Game over, man. It was a valiant effort. But unfortunately, you did not quite make it through the entirety of episode 7. You gave it a good go.
I got to 9. No, I got through 7.
Sorry. Yes, you're right. You didn't quite make through all the way through it. But you could have probably summed up episode 9 with Quis Cut Odiet, who executes the executioners. Because Cutthroat's got a cutthroat. He's going to stabby.
Did you do the, here's Cutthroat when he smashes head through the... Because it's the Shining.
Yeah. Ding. I was waiting. I really wanted there to be like an air horn that played for the first person that made a Shining quote. I was deliberately trying to restrain myself from doing that. I wanted to see how long I could go, and I was like, who's going to fall first? It's like if you've ever watched QI and someone says the obviously wrong answer and the alarm just goes off. And it's just like this little thing like in the background which gives the text of what was said. Like, for example, on QI, you'd have things like, what happened to Walt Disney? And someone will say, cryogenically frozen, then the alarm goes off and it says cryogenically frozen in the background. So I will, however, confer on you bonus points for the phrase of Doctor saying, I'll fuck you all, because
Yeah. That's what happened. I didn't get to mention that the twins have 5,555 siblings. I didn't get to mention that Courier is weird because he's very weird. Because, like, why did he end up taking... It's like he was walking and he hit the invisible glass that was the plot. It's like, what? Yeah. I can't refuse her. I have to take them. Wait a minute. You've said the magic phrase. You want somewhere to belong? Well, I wasn't going to do it for billions of yen, but if you want somewhere to belong, hop on me bike, lass, and let's roll. That was odd.
No feelings in work, Courier says.
Yeah. So obviously he's like the biggest heart. He has such a big heart. That's why he's pushing everyone away.
He doesn't want to get close. Shit or Mr. Shitman, according to little sister.
The shit guy. Yeah.
My sister isn't shit.
Yeah. You're right. Episode 9 is just like sort of. In large part is kind of a thriller where she's running away from Cutthroat, but
oh god,
yeah, that's the summary, basically.
Yeah, that episode was intense, but also ironically hamstrung for reasons that we will discuss later. Mm-hmm. You probably know exactly why I think it's hamstrung because of the.
That's a grim pun.
I know. I was gonna say cut down, but that was probably also a bit much. You know.
Yeah, it cut itself off at the knees.
Yeah.
Cut off its nose to spite its face.
Pretty much. So then, we've got the summary out of the way, which is basically we learn that the kids are immortal. That's the key facts that's around which much of the plot is now pivoting. Mm-hmm. And that also explains, of course, retroactively why the brother of the two, he was able to heal from the grievous wound of Cutthroat, deciding to, ignore that there was someone in his way and just go boop, poke.
Mm-hmm.
I get the feeling that solid objects aren't much of an impediment for Cutthroat. He just sees them as things that he just has to pass through, or merely suggestions. But I mean, there was, of course, the amazing riff. Again, we'll have to reference the Shines. An amazing riff on the "Here's Johnny" moment. But what really made me laugh was how Swindler kicked the door and it just landed, crashed all around him, pushed him back. I really wanted him to just spend the rest of the episode walking around with a door around his neck. That's all I wanted.
At the end of this episode, I'm reminded of an anecdote that my roommate told me, my college roommate. So he had a good friend who hated the Grateful Dead, hated them so much, the music of the Grateful Dead. I have no opinion on the Grateful Dead because I have not really listened to them very much. Don't really have an interest in jam bands, but this friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, somehow, I think it's part of a music festival, wound up at a Grateful Dead show, despite hating the band. And now this was shortly after Jerry Garcia died. Okay.
Oops.
So he's there, and his hatred for the band was so strong that he made a sign to hold up at the show that said, "We're grateful he's dead."
Oh.
and that's how I feel at the end of episode 9 about Cutthroat. We're grateful he's dead.
Oh, but he'll turn up to be fine. I mean, at this point, the Akudama basically, apart from Brawler,
he's totally dead. He's served his purpose. I feel like this episode,
like I said with Brawler,
was the reason that Cutthroat existed, so that they could have their serial killer, main character, innocent girl on the run, the sort of horror movie thriller tropes, and they did it, and it was good. I enjoyed it, but now he needs to be no more on my screen.
They need to cut him loose.
God,
sorry.
So interesting point in chat from Gogo, who says they really did a good job of showing how horrifying never being able to die is. The children are literally torn apart again and again, and I mean it's rough to watch. They sort of get a free pass to be edgy, it's like
Well, I'm gonna bring I'm going to bring that scene up later in context of these episodes and how they approach the, every alt-right's favorite word that they have no understanding of what it actually means. Censorship!
Oh, right. Yeah, the made-for-TV gore fest. Yeah, it's not something that, anime fans are probably unfamiliar with. I am glad that I'm watching the TV broadcast. I mean, I don't mind a bit of gore, but like, I don't know. I myself am just as happy to have a blurry white line where Doctor is otherwise, pulling the scalpel through the throat of an old man. I'm good with that. It takes nothing away from my enjoyment of the show.
No, that's fair. We'll come to that later, of course. I'm going to save that because firstly, we have to go through creatives and also go through our Patreon questions. So you might think to yourself, what's Patreon? And I'm going to say, it allows you to give us money. Why do you want to give us money? Because you should. No, kidding. Of course, there are better reasons for that. If you get onto our Patreon, patreon.com/Warui Deshou, we have 3 tiers. We have the $2 one, we have the $3 one, or we have the $5 KFC bucket meal one. That's not what the series is called, by the way. But these give you increasing privileges with each of them. First of which is universal to all of them. You get access to our Discord and our wonderful community. You get to join us, shoot the breeze with us. We get to do things like group watches, game nights, that kind of stuff. All sorts of great stuff there. And being part of Discord means you can ask us questions about the shows we cover. If you subscribe to the $2 tier, you get to ask us questions about the Stream of Thought series we're covering, which in this case is Akudama Drive. $3 tier gets you access to our second stream podcasts, asking questions for those. $5 tier gets you the full package, Deshou the Third series, the third podcast thing we do. And ask questions about that as well. So plenty of benefits to check out. Definitely go take a look. We will, of course, soon be going through the questions from our patrons about this particular set of episodes. In the meantime, Herr Doctor, I'm going to pass it over to you to go through the creatives.
Well, this will be brief because we've already talked about them all.
Yay!
Last time we did this,
no revolving door on this one.
I know. Last time we did this, I didn't have the data, but pretty much everybody looks like we've already talked about them on the first episode, and if not, I'll be sure to in our final Akudama pod, whenever that will be. I'll have all the info in front of me, and we can talk at greater length about anybody that we might have missed.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough, then. In that case, we might as well get underway with our Patreon questions. So, I'm going to go through these now. First batch of questions comes from Kate Rose. First one is, was the Doctor's persistent questioning of Swindler a cover for her own alliance? Now, isn't that a thing? Because I think we should firstly mention, you and I were placing bets that, I said Hoodlum. I thought Hoodlum was going to be, the executor,
right.
Stooge, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was confident it was going to be an executor Stooge. It just turned out I was completely wrong about who it was. What was your original opinion again, Doc? Who did you think the Stooge was going to be?
That the Stooge was going to be? I don't remember. I think I might have offered a different answer each week we did it. I don't know. Did I say maybe Hacker? I'm not sure, but
everyone's going to pat each other. Yeah.
You should have if you actually put down money on this, if this were a real thing you could go to your bookie about, then you should pester your bookie about getting a payout, because Hoodlum did say that he had plans to sell them out. They just, Doctor beat him to the punch.
Yes. Because she has many things he does not, one of which is a brain. So that doesn't, of course, make what she does right, but it just merely points out that she was much quicker on the draw with adapting to the situation. But yeah, to answer Kate's question here, it could very well have been. I think that's not an unreasonable thing to point out. Put some heat on someone else, draw attention away. But I think that I'll speak to the efficacy of it, because as much as I can say, I think that was the case or not, bear in mind, I made that prediction. Predicting predictions about who's, like the suspect person, who's the imposter, who's the Among Us villain, that kind of thing, is all well and fun. It's all good fun. It's all part of the joy of watching a show like this anyway. But the fact that we both guessed completely wrong, we didn't get the docs at all, I think just speaks to how the show presents it in such a way that it felt natural, that we didn't think that she was the actual stooge, but it turned out she was. So I think that whatever I also say about whether she was doing it deliberately or not, I think that how she was presented worked to keep her concealed. Because there's nothing worse than a "who's the stooge" thing going on, where it turns out there is a stooge, but you figured it out way ahead of time.
Or it feels like that they do a Shyamalan-esque twist for the sake of it, where it's like, this doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like this, why would this person do it? And then so much shit is retconned or like explained in a way that doesn't feel right or doesn't feel in keeping with the show. Like this one, like you said, it wasn't like you could spot it a mile away, but nor was it like something that didn't make any sense.
Yep. The Doctor's reasoning for doing it, actually, as it turns out, it's actually quite a good backstory, in my opinion, and it ties in with the origin of the children as well, and also makes perfect sense for what she's been doing. Like we've joked before, like how she just stitches herself back up and all that.
Right.
But there's more meat to that now that we see why she's like,
more meat.
That's not what I meant. But well, I get the feeling that's what hoodlums said a lot that night.
Probably.
Jesus Christ. I feel like someone's going to write a fanfic one day that's just going to be incredibly not safe for work, and it's just going to go into exhaustive detail of what she did to him, even though he woke up and was just like, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my god, 10 digits. Just check your toes. Just let me check your toes. But yeah, like her backstory of why she's doing it, like it's not massively personal in nature. We don't say, for example, have the moment where she says, "Oh, my parents died young, and I wanted to defeat death." No, it's more of it's a reason. It's a reason for herself as a scientist, and that's fine for this show. I think that works really well, but it gels together nicely with everything else. So we're going to discuss that later because I want to bring that up in relation to what happens with the kids, of course. So yeah, that works really well. What's your thought on that, Doc? Do you think that she similarly, fooled us all?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was what I guess Kate is saying that not only did she fool us all, and not only did it make sense, but like kind of retroactively looking back, it was sort of foreshadowed in a way. You could look at Doctor's actions and say, methinks that she doth protest too much. She is the one always calling out other people for, you're the traitor. You must be wanting to sell us out or stab us in the back. And it's like, why do you keep thinking I'm cheating? Because you're cheating. that kind of bullshit.
It's like a Mexican standoff, but everyone's just pointing fingers at each other rather than guns.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And right. So I think that's an astute point by Kate. I agree.
Next question is also from Kate and goes, were you surprised by the backstory of the two siblings? Depends on what you mean by surprised. I mean, like,
I had no expectations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't like, whoa, this is like different than I thought. I was very much, all right, fuck me up, fam. I'm strapped in. I'm ready to hear this unbelievably like ridiculous backstory.
Yeah. I've had some thoughts about the backstory, but the first thing I will note is that I think that firstly it works. For one, it's because it again just goes to highlight the abject cruelty of the society that they live in, which, I mean, I'm going to be talking later about how, the whole thing backfires in episode 9, like, the Akudama are attacking the Shinkansen, this holy train. It's just a train. What the fuck? But how that backfires really badly, and how it illustrates the tools of, like, right-wing populist politics and dystopian societies can very easily crumble on themselves because of a fuck-up like that. But also, other thing to note is that I think that the backstory of the children plays in part on unfortunately, well, it's something that's happening in real life at the moment, which is that, where are these kids coming from? How are they made and all that? Like, why are they being taken away by government? Why is nothing changing? It sounds sketchily familiar to some stuff that I'm not comfortable with because,
What do you
but-
mean? I thought they were just all like test tube kids. Like,
test tube. Okay, fair enough. That probably makes more sense because they actually did look a lot alike. to
yeah,
be
I
quite
thought they were
honest.
all just clones of.
That's
someone,
fine. But ignore what I just said then. Ignore that.
But I mean,
yeah,
it's fair enough to think that imagery made you think of that. I mean, it was a bunch of kids packed in a very small space, too small for them all to live.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was meant to be unsettling in a lot of different ways, and it's fair enough that you thought of that.
What's happening to Brother in particular, I think, is very effectively handled in such a way that it also kind of undercuts the idea of the censorship in the later parts of the show. But again, I'll get to that when we get to it. So I suppose to answer the question, like, if by surprise, I mean, like, what the fuck? Where'd this come from? No, I think it fits in perfectly. It's got wider relevance to society, continues to gel the idea that, this world that we live in, this government is like it. You could make the argument to this point that, yeah, it's a cyberpunk world, but the only people like who are really bad in it are the Akudama, like, and then got the cops and all that kind of stuff. But I think that, sometimes you need to show, like, quite conclusively that the bad guys are the bad guys rather than just taking it as a given. But also we get to see how it affects the sister particularly, because note how she is when we first meet her versus how she is in episode 9 when she's eating with Swindler. Like, she's got much more of a personality now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which ties into, the whole idea of, hey, being immortal is not all it's cracked up to be, because it just leaves you, sands away your personality over time. Which is another kind of cruelty that they've inflicted on. They're just not letting them be children in that way.
Yeah. Well, again, yeah, that's true. It's true. I forget the point I was going to make. I don't know. It's probably irrelevant. I should probably just say, look at the red, cute, puffy vest that they gave her in episode 9. That's adorable.
Don't say look at the red when it comes to this.
Aka, etc.
Yeah. I've just thought to myself like he was going to sneeze at some point, like he was leading up to that. Aka, chew! Like that.
Next question.
Next question. What do you think of Swindler after episode 8? So this episode is the one where Swindler flat out kills 2 people.
Fucking jabs the lid of a can into a man's eyeball, such that he dies, presumably.
Yeah. And then shoots another guy. And she would have shot the third, but she just ran out of bullets.
But the man who was stabbed thusly. By the way, pardon me for the graphic description there, but I will say that I think she should have shot him again because he's a child predator and he deserved it. So fuck that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So they're in a situation where they need to defend themselves, and you can argue about the graphic nature of the violence. This is one of those things where, we can argue about, hey, could this have happened any other way? And the answer is always going to be yes, because you can write it whatever way you want. But as presented, while I think that the violence against those guys, particularly the guy who got the the Campbell's soup lid to his eyeball, was quite intense. She was defending herself and her friend, from these child predators, and so for that I feel no sympathy for them. And while I do think it caused her to cross a boundary that she may not be able to come back from, especially as we see in episode 9 where she says, hey, I could get used to this, and is arguably also responsible for the deaths of many people. I mean, we'll discuss that. We will talk about that.
I know.
We will talk about that soon. Like, as far as I'm concerned, in that particular moment, I can't blame her for doing it. I'd have probably done the same. Maybe not the exact same actions. I think that particular thing was just, I need to defend myself, so I'm like that.
Yeah.
Look it out.
So two comments to make on this question. Two-part answer, I guess. One is that I think that this scene that we're speaking about, when she dispatched those three, with ultimately in the end the help of Courier because he showed up, and that's I think where the show begins to kind of lay the seeds of not its own destruction. That's hyperbolic, but like lay the seeds of like lessening the effectiveness of its really intense moments, because by the end of episode 9 we have seen a number, and then that's not even including like the previous couple of episodes, which I'm probably failing to remember this happened in those, but like it's beginning to get a little predictable, I guess, that like, you know, Swindler will find herself in jeopardy and struggle and get cornered to the point where she is absolutely done, and then someone will come and save her. Mm-hmm. And so that just sort of, by the end of episode 9, which, I mean, is really... It was effective in a lot of ways, but I felt it could have been even more effective if I hadn't seen her kind of barely squeak by because other people showed up or because something else like that happened. Granted, no one came to save the day with Cutthroat, but still, I feel like, I don't know, the Swindler as a kind of fragile character, as a character who is at risk, that notion of being at risk is sort of ebbing away, and you're like, okay, well, no matter what kind of corner she gets put into, she's definitely going to get out of it. And I mean, I guess, like, you know, that's
could be the point.
Well, I guess it's fair play to say like that was always going to be the case in a show like this. I mean, you can't kill the main character like that, and that's just the nature of these things, but still, it just makes the scenes less interesting over time to me. The other... go ahead, because I was going to...
Well, I was going to say, though, like, when you said, like, you can't kill the main character, like, I wish someone had told Cutthroat that, because, boy, was he trying.
I know. Right, yeah, he didn't get the memo.
Yeah, he was really giving it a good go.
He was. It's A for effort, Cutthroat. Aka for effort. So the other point is, I think specifically Kate might be asking... in terms of what did you think of Swindler, what do we think of her, how do I phrase this? What do we think about this thing that I kept bringing up the last 2 times, is that her naivete is all an act, that she is ultimately, you know, a criminal mastermind, or she really is the Swindler, this career criminal or whatever, and that the innocent girl is just a front. I think I'm willing to take the L on that one at this point. I think after she used her seal to try to buy Takoyaki as a wanted criminal, I don't know. I don't see how that could be part of a master plan. Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe it's eluding me. But that felt like, okay, she really is a babe in the woods here.
Well, you know what's funny when you bring that up, like that was going to be part of one of my bigger talking points, but I might as well bring it up now because it's relevant. Basically, let's think about it this way, right? With what's happened with the 2 kids, and with the way everyone else treats every other person in this show, like there's like Courier's like no feelings in work. We see how Doctor treats Hoodlum by stepping on him, literally. The purest thing that we see in the show really is the relationship between Hoodlum and Brawler. And that's then taken away, you know. Right. There's a genuine friendship between those 2. Although some people could still argue that maybe he was trying to, like, you know, push him in for harm's way, so he, like, you know, use him as a meat shield. But I think there was a bit of genuineness to that, especially when we see the reaction afterwards. At the start, for example, episode 7, when we see him, like, you know, attack the brother because of what he said. So I think there's some genuineness there. But, like, there's otherwise very little genuine human connection in the world of Akudama Drive. And so, here's the reason why Swindler's the main character, and why this question of is she really swindling or is it just all coincidence and happenstance is really important. Because it's going to determine how we're going to feel about the show at the end.
Yep. Yeah. It would cut us. I would feel cut off. I agree. Like, it would cut off a emotional access point if the whole time she was swindling us.
Yeah. Well, not even that. Think about how she treats the children. Like, she's the first person who's given them genuine, like, affection and care.
Yeah.
Like, by the end of episode 9, or even by the start of episode 9, the sister is a lot more of a regular child, I would argue. Like, she's emoting. She's not just there like a porcelain doll saying, like, pre-recorded lines. She's actually, like, having...
burp.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, I am the sister of the immortal brother. How are you? Like, no, she's talking like, my sister isn't shit. Like that, for example.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
With that, so like, where these children have been denied any genuine human connection, they get it from this person. If that then all turned out to be part of this grand master plan we theorize it may or may not be, then there's artistic merits to that idea, because ultimately you then, it depends on whether or not you like these works, but it would ultimately make Akudama Drive very cynical. That even then, in the end, also Doc's taking his anime pills here.
Mm-hmm.
He's got.
Sorry, got a bit of a sinus headache, but I can hear you. I'm with you.
Oh, I thought I was just going to wait for you to come back and say, like, is that so you can, like, go to the next level with this discussion?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Nice,
I can properly power up now that I've senzu.
Well, I mean, I'm drinking strong beer. You're having, what you call a senzu beam. So I think at this point, I just literally need to whip out like some amyl nitrate. But anyway, I mean, there's drugs in these episodes, so it's all
whatever was in the bag that that Swindler was about to.
Oregano.
Exactly. This is the purest shit.
That's a spaced reference, by the way. I hope
it would listen. The knowledge gaps of the characters in this show, like something like that wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? Because like they live in this future world or whatever, but fucking there's like space. You mean the one above the sky? Like there's just some things that like they don't like, these elementary things that the characters don't know. So it was like they were taking oregano like it was a drug.
I have to say, like, by the way, just a small tangent, like that the head executive lady turning off the illusion around the moon, like no one else noticed that. Moon's a big fucking thing. Like just imagine me there. Like I look out the window and I see the full moon. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm just gonna go and and then I look out again. It's just suddenly like, what the fuck? Anyway, that's not what.
No, I know. I should have been on the news.
Yeah,
it was just a disco ball. Now we see. It's like I was.
Everyone collectively agrees that they were just blink. They just blinked, and it was just like a trick of the mind.
I know. We all just agree not to talk about it. Like, they're definitely the moon's definitely always been this way.
Yeah,
except on like the fucking InfoWars shitty like AM radio people are just like, the moon used to be whole. We know it. You know it. I know it. They're turning the moon gay. Look what they're doing to it. Oh
yeah, they're telling me the moon's wet. I had never experienced anything this wet in my entire life. Not even my wife. Anyway, so we have, of course, the fact that Swindler genuinely cares about the children, as far as we can see. And the question is, if that's true, that's great. Like there can still be, even in as awful a society as this is, that willingly labels people as criminals for no good, some of them for no good reason. That otherwise tricks its populace into believing this train of all fucking things is this mythological place. All that sort of stuff. That's still a good thing. Like it goes to show that there can still be optimism and hope found in such a place. But then the alternative is, if she was always like a secret master genius who was like planning this all along, it makes the work very cynical. It makes the work a bit nihilistic, even, I would say, that they in the end will be betrayed as well for whatever reason she's doing this. And that doesn't automatically invalidate Akudama Drive, but I think you're going to have to be very careful about how you respond to it if that happens, because on some level, me and you, Doc, like we've been saying since we've started watching this show, she's Swindler be swindling. She's got the master plan. Is she really just this, girl got swept up into it by complete accident? But I think that some people would feel very betrayed by that. It's going to be very your mileage may vary thing. I'll be curious to see how it pans out. But the stakes of her being this master planner are now much more than just for talking points. Like, is she or isn't she? I don't know. Like, that sounds fun. Like, now it actually has a thematic core to it.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm willing to take the L because it looks less and less likely. Don't count. It's still a non-zero possibility that it does happen at the end, and the show is just like, fuck you all, Yeah. So
she's still incited murder though, so that's kind of a problem. Whoops.
Right.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. not so innocent anymore. Because that wasn't in self-defense, but it's hard to. It feels like she doesn't know what she's doing, but she really did.
I'm sorry. When I said the murder thing, I wasn't talking about like the self-defense.
No. I know the post, the online post.
Yeah.
It felt like she didn't know what she was doing though, but she definitely like threw a match into a powder keg.
Whoops.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else to answer that question, Doc?
Nope.
All right. As of the end of episode 8, do you think Hakko will make a reappearance before the show ends? Yes. I'm going to say a hard yes on this, and I'll tell you why. Because there's so many times that we've seen Swindler's bag be emptied or fall, and that drone of his falls back out again that he gave her. So it makes, for one, it's a visual reminder that he's still a person, in this show, and also as I mentioned, I think by the doctor of him at least at one point. It was the brother. When they got to the City of Lost Children, if Hakko was still here, he would like it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we keep.
Never. It doesn't matter. He's mentioned, but go on. Continue.
Yeah, he's mentioned basically. We get all the visual cues of the drone. And in turn, the drone also makes perfect sense as a puzzle piece for how he would know where everyone is. Because he's always watching for it. And furthermore, bear in mind that the board that we see in episode 9, in particular of all the Akudama we've seen thus far, Brawler's dead because he's got that logo over him, the symbol. Hakko does not. He's still at large. So they keep throwing reminders out that he's there. So I have a feeling he will come back.
When I agree, by the way. I think she'll end up using his drone against him. Or maybe his drone turns against him. But I think when Cutthroat was introduced in episode 9, when they meet him in the Executioner's HQ, and he's on top of that big pile of bodies. Part of me thought that like they had necromanced Brawler back to life. Because how does he make his introduction? He's on top of a big pile of robot bodies.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no, it's Brawler again. But then it just, unfortunately for all of us, it turned out to be Cutthroat.
Damn it. Damn it.
Yeah, Hacker's coming back. I mean, it would feel like a very visible and obvious loose thread if they didn't bring him back.
Yeah, especially with all the visual cues, like constantly showing the drone, for example, that he has given to Swindler, and then not doing anything with that later. To me, would be really disappointing. You don't it's your setup, your payoff. You set up, your reminder, your payoff. We've set up. Here's the drone that he's given after he leaves. Here's the reminder. She still has the drone. What do you then do with it? You bring him back. He doesn't even necessarily need to turn up, to be fair. He doesn't need to physically be there. He could be elsewhere, but could use that drone in a moment that Swindler needs him, although that, unfortunately, would then buy into your problem, which I think is not unreasonable. One of someone always comes in last second to save her. Whereas him being around for a more direct involvement would be better. But yeah, I am of the opinion he is definitely coming back. Put me down as a hard yes on that.
Also, hard yes. Team hard yes.
Next question. In fact, we have two of them here, and these come from a new patron of ours, the son of Rackham. I have no idea who Rackham is. I'm sure someone will elaborate on that.
Shouts to your dad, Rackham.
Rackham Senior.
Right.
So the question goes something like this. Do you think it's possible Hoodlum might end up getting some guts and try to be more like Brawler for real now that Brawler is gone? Well, the funny thing is we've got to see him at his lowest point, or one of his lowest points in these episodes, where, okay, yes, he did get to bed the Doctor. Good for him. Very lucky of him that he's still got all his extremities. That's pretty nice. But he's still very much like, under her heel in more ways than one. She's calls him out pretty hard on all of that. She just says that you're an oaf. Like, you pretend to look like a hard man, but you're really not. You're just nothing. And the thing about Brawler is that beyond him, brawling his way out of everything and being a good punchy man, he didn't care what other people thought. He's like, I'm going to do this. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't answer to you. I don't answer to anyone else. I want to brawl because I want to brawl. Why the fuck not? And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's his name.
Something about the word brawl. I don't know.
Baker's gonna bake, man. Like, I don't expect a baker to suddenly start doing, I don't know, plumbing or something like that. That's his job title. It is his profession and his hobby all in one.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Nominative determinism at work. Do you think mom and dad, like, when he, a little baby Brawler pops out and just like, yep, that's your name, Brawler.
It reminds me of that Malcolm in the Middle joke where when Reese is born, he punches Hal in the face. Oh,
right.
Right. Literally, as soon as he's out, just like, dunk.
Do you think Brawler was born with the dreads already? He just came out fully with the dreads as a baby.
Yeah.
It reminds me of did you ever see the show Family Manners?
I know of it.
Okay. Well, I watched this in syndication a lot as a kid, and there was an episode in which, comedic star of the show, Jaleel White playing Steve Urkel, the erstwhile nerd of nerds. They had him pretend to be like a gangster. And they put a wire on him. They were trying to because one of the characters in the show is a cop, and they're trying to get a confession out of someone in the gang. And so Steve Urkel is pretending to be a gangster. He's wearing a wire, and he's trying to prove how hard he is. And he tells them, when I was born, the doctor slapped me. I shot him. I can see Brawler similarly reacting. Baby Brawler.
What do you think Brawler's first word was?
Was it in fact brawl?
I was gonna say punch, but that's
Punch,
also a valid answer.
Kick,
Yeah.
break.
Nah, yeah. Fist.
Fist. Yeah.
The noun. Damn it.
That's not
what
I was thinking, but yes, okay.
Just getting out there. So yeah, I think that what I'm trying to say is though is like, I'm not expecting Hoodlum to become like Brawler in the sense that he's going to start punching a lot of people. But I think that he is going to become like Brawler in time, in that he's going to stand up for himself somehow. Like, he's going to gain some of that kind of attitude that devil may care, live and die free kind of stuff that Brawl lived by. Because after all, that was what he did. Like, he didn't even really want the money. He just wanted to fight. And hey, fair play to him for that. Like, at least he knew what he wanted. Whereas Hoodlum right now is currently, I don't know the safe word. Could you tell me again? And then the docs will say something like, well, I could do, but it's tattooed on your body in many different places. Like, you've got one letter from each of it, so good luck, decipher it. It could be really cruel like that. What do you think about that, Doc?
I'm still thinking about I'm stuck on Brawler's first word. Do you think it was what does Ken do in Street Fighter? Is it Kakatekina or something like that? Do you think that's him? Come and fight me.
I don't even. God, all I know is Shoryuken, Hadouken.
One of his first word was Shoryuken.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, he does Shoryuken, the executor in one of the previous episodes. So it would fit. It would fit. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Dad trying to rock him to sleep. It's fun. I'm sorry. I'm in a bit of a mood, I suppose. That's silly. Okay. Go. This is going to be one of those shows. It's always one of those shows. At this point, I don't know what the other category is of show. I guess maybe a very straightforward meat and potatoes podcast.
Oh, God.
But that's not what we're about.
It's Akudama Drive, so that yeah, we've got the excuse on this
Okay,
one.
please
do you have anything?
re-ask the question. Anything about what?
Do you think it's possible Hoodlum might end up getting some guts and try to be more like Brawl for real?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's destined to go out in a blaze of glory. Like, kind of tag along into the fray with Doctor, saying, paying lip service to being her lackey. And in the end, he's going to do the right thing for the children. For the children. And throw himself in harm's way or, attack the Doctor only to be gutted.
Maybe,
yeah.
Yeah, I can see it happening where he's been gutted by her, and then he manages to somehow catch her off guard and then take her down at the same time.
Yeah, I can see it. And then Executioner comes in to finish the job. Because don't forget about her. The show seems to have forgotten about her slightly. She did not get a lot of airtime in these 3 episodes, and I was really looking forward to. Do you feel like she's flipped the switch a little bit too much, too hard? Because I mean, she really was a little bit of a puppy dog at the beginning, not in terms of like being like innocent or afraid to get into it, but like she was just so sort of her personality is totally different. And I mean, I guess like your mentor being can do that to you, but
well, she kept all of her nice personality in her left eye.
Oh, exactly right.
Yeah, it's all gone now.
Yeah, the gay ass has been cut out of her.
Yeah,
no, it's like it just seems it seems to have happened just so fast and so totally that. But again, that's the thing that doesn't feel quite right to me.
I think it's fine because I think it fits perfectly with what we've been told about the the executioners thus far, which is that they have this partner relationship, the mentor-mentee, the cycle of vengeance, the stuff I discussed earlier, where each new generation of executioners is hardened because of the death or the maiming or injury of the previous one, which is why, of course, there are the scars on the first one. Then she has her scar of the one eye. Also note that she's got his side now because the 2 sides that she has, the handles are different colors. So she's still using his side as well. And then, of course, we get to see the doughy-eyed, I'm going to be a great executioner. I'm going to do my job. It's going to be fantastic. It's basically like Murphy from RoboCop on his first day.
Yeah, exactly like she was. But doesn't that make it feel all the more robotic that there's a pattern that's been laid out and these actual human beings are like behaving maybe 100% exactly according to the pattern? I don't know.
Cruelty is the point.
Like, but no, it's not about cruelty, right? It's about like the show,
the cruelty of the system,
the writing. No, I'm saying, well, of course, but I mean, like, I get that. I understand, the structure that the oppressive structure that these cops are a part of, but like, I just mean the show in terms of character writing. It just feels such a stark change, and just because the show tells you it's going to do something doesn't then mean when it does it right or does it well or that it's automatically good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like
I
just because they like flagged it as a thing, like it still has to, I don't know, it still has to land well, and I don't know if it exactly landed well that she's just this totally like, no, I'm doing this by myself. I don't need a partner.
I do actually agree with you in the sense I think that a little bit more time would have been nice to see of her. Like, I mean, she gets introduced to this partner in the same scene that they talk about, like what they're doing next with collecting the kid. But part of me would think that it would be really good to have a separate scene, like the locker room scene, like this is your new partner, here you go, and they talk,
right?
And you get more time to soak it in.
That'd be
like
great.
You're saying, you talk, for example, about the idea of a landing. So let's stretch that metaphor a bit further. I think what the show has done is it's not so much that she hasn't landed, this point hasn't landed, but rather we haven't seen enough of it. Like, we need to see the actual landing, if you want to call it that. Yes, we got the scene where she was recovering with the scar and all that, and then we get this. but I think that a little bit more time devoted to building that up on a more personal level.
The scene that you talked about would be great. Also, maybe a scene of her getting ready for work, and we see her as a cold, emotionless. Maybe she has a new haircut. Maybe she's got a picture of the guy, her boss or whatever. You know
what I'd have done? We have seen first-person perspectives in this show. Swindler does them. So, of course, this executioner lady, she has an eye patch now. She's blind in one eye. You know what I would have done to show how she feels? I don't know whether or not I've done this one way or the other, but basically, imagine if you had the scene which was in that room with all the numbers where it's oh yeah, I know you're first evil blood and all that. And she deliberately faces so that the blind eye is looking in the direction of the head execution lady. But then of course she can see her new apprentice on the other one. And therefore you get the dialogue where when the lady execution lady is, from her perspective, we can't see her, but we can hear her. And it goes to show she's out of the picture. She's something she doesn't care about, and maybe might care more about the apprentice because she can see them, or vice versa. Do things with it. Do more with this character.
Yeah,
because I think you do interesting things with it.
Totally. I was really looking forward to seeing this, and it looks like I think the time for it has now passed. I don't think it's something you could do now. So a little bit of a disappointing move here, but it is what it is.
Aye. Right. Next question comes also from Son of Rackham and goes, "It feels like we don't know the whole truth about Kanto to me. Do you think it bears any resemblance to what the people of Kansai are told it is like, or do you think it could be wildly different? Perhaps it could be in a worse state than Kansai in one way or another?" Here's the thing, right? Whenever I get questions like this, I'm invited to speculate on what I think it's like, but I always sometimes go off on talking about what the story could or could not do with it. And I'm again going to offer the devil's advocate option here, which is we will never find out. And you run the risk with that of also you look like you're about to sneeze really badly.
No, I'm not. Please carry on.
Are you okay, man?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I have a sinus headache, and so I'm just kind of pressing on my sinuses to try to bring some relief. I'm pulling back the curtain here onto my personal life.
I thought perhaps maybe you were holding your psychic powers. I'm not sure.
I'm focusing really hard on this point.
You were having the obligatory psychic nosebleeds, so you were just trying to hide it because you were trying to do something.
I'm trying to bend the clock in your room. Come on.
If that falls off now, I'm gonna. I swear. Anyway, so because the thing is, right? When I say that, I'm not necessarily advocating for it one way or another. It depends on what you do with it. But the thing that you run into here is I mentioned previously in a very recent podcast, Vexiel, the Vexing film, the Paul Oakenfold music video that belonged in the early 2000s on MTV.
Okay, what is Paul Oakenfold? Did we Google Paul Oakenfold last time you brought this up?
He's got some good music. He does. All right.
Look, I love Paul. There was a time in my life where I listened to a lot of Paul Oakenfold, but it's just so funny because I've not thought about Paul Oakenfold in a long time. I imagine Paul Oakenfold has not thought about Vexiel for a very long time either. But yeah, for those who might not have been here when I mentioned that, basic premise is Japan goes behind the shield. You can't see beyond the shield. Several decades pass. Something calls for people to go inside the shield, and you think to yourself, "Oh, cool! What's Japan going to be like on the other side?" And it's just a desert, and it's shit, and I hate it. Right.
So the thing is, the broad idea is all of this build up to what Cancer may or may not be like is a real powder keg for the show, because it becomes one of those things where audiences can be very finicky about the reveal. The reveal could be very intentionally that it's just regular normal city. Imagine that it's just no different than the one that we're in now, for whatever reason. And that could very well be intended by the show. But the problem is you build up audience expectation by leaving things ambiguous, and therefore you've got to deliver on it, and that can be very, very tricky. And so my argument is that maybe we should never find out, because it keeps in place the same as is for the people of Kansai, which is it's a mythological, wondrous place and that's all we need to know about it. It's not so much what's happening there that's important as how it affects the people in Kansai that is important, if you know what I mean. That's what happened with Hakko, after all.
This is exactly the answer I would have given. Is like, yeah, that it's much better to leave it to the imagination. If the idea really is that it is this wondrous place, because I think of things like I don't know, like that just are described with a lot of grandeur, and then you show it and you just can't help but be disappointed. Like for whatever reason, like my mind is cast back to I'm gonna bring this show up for once. Do you remember the fucking Council of Elders or whatever in Darling in the Franxx? Like they're supposed to be like gods, and there's these like gold shitty looking dudes, and it's like, really? Like this is it? These are the gods or whatever? They just look like total shit. And you hate that. It would be interesting if Kanto was really just in such a bad way, but they're sort of like through propaganda still able to control and exploit Kansai, and that seems very possible. And I'm curious. I think the possibility is totally still open for that to be the case and everything, but. Paul Oakenfold. Do you remember when Paul Oakenfold had long hair?
No.
Because shit, you should totally look at these pictures of him with long hair. Because like, it's fucking terrible, dude. Like I'm all about like, look, express yourself and everything. But Paul Oakenfold's not real. He's a public figure. He's not a real person, so we can make fun of him. Like long hair is just awful. Just terrible. He looks like a really bad, like someone tried to enter a Mark Wahlberg lookalike contest who doesn't really look a lot like Mark Wahlberg, but only sort of kind of does. Maybe like his grandmother was like, "You look like Mark Wahlberg," and then just like tried to do it. Yeah, he's always like, I'm like 50 years old, but look at my like haircut of the youths.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Totally. Yeah, exactly. He's that guy. Yeah. But he makes kick-ass music a lot of the time. So I forgive him ultimately for it.
Well, it makes sense if he has a face for radio, they'd be into music. That's rude of me to say, look, I look, to be fair. Anyway, one thing I will add, though, that's pertinent to the discussion about what Kanto is and isn't, though, we definitely do need an explanation of why they're doing what they're doing to the kids. Because, okay, we've spent all this time trying to perfect the perfect immortal being, like someone who cannot die, who, recovers from any injury, that kind of thing. And we're going to send it off as a sacrifice. Like, why? Why do that? You've given us enough information on what you've done and what's been involved in doing that, like, and all the horrific shit that's happened to those children. Like how, 2502, we have that awful repeating scene of him waking up on the laboratory table, which, by the way, looks like a school science.
I hate it. I hate it.
I hate that. I'm going to go into that later. I don't want to go into
the pool of blood is even bigger.
But also, we have all of his, fellow classmates being turned into soylent green.
I know that very Ava. That shot will remind everyone of Evangelion. I feel, but
we had to get it in at some point.
Someone, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
We've been running dry on the Ava references.
I know.
On the side down.
Someone needs to do like. So you've played the beginning of Bloodborne, but it might not be as near and dear to your heart as it is for me. But someone needs to do like just a little fan video, when the kid sits up, they need to do like just pipe in that like like that Bloodborne sound effect that happens when you wake up from your blood transfusion after the werewolf has tried to kill you in your dream, or at least approached you, and then you just wake up and there's blood everywhere and you've been in on an operating table, very much like Brother, the poor kid.
So I think that because of everything that's happened with the children, that because it invokes such a reaction from us, that we do need to have a reason why they're doing it. And when I say a reason why, it doesn't need to be a reason that we agree with, because, well, for one, there probably wouldn't be one anyway, at least the one I can conceive of. Two, it doesn't even necessarily have to be an understandable one, but we just need something. We can't just, like... I said, for example, about Swindler turning out to be an actual swindler, and then that kind of robs the show of an emotional connection that also feels really cynical given how she treats the children. And this, conversely, would also push it in that direction where we're doing it for the sake of it. We're doing it because why not, you know?
You mean the graphic scenes or whatever with the kids?
Well, not just the graphic scenes, but just also the general idea that, you know, the society is growing these immortal children just for shits and giggles.
Oh, no, I mean, I think, okay, so here's my rebuttal to that would be, you know how you said the cruelty is the point? I think there's a little bit of that here in that, so whoever it is, you know, faceless, you know, corporate overlords that are running this lab are clearly trying to discover the secret to immortality. And they have created, through whatever gene, weird magic science. I'm reminded of my favorite part. You've seen Trigun, right?
Yes.
Have you seen it English dubbed, or did you see it subtitled?
I think I saw it in English, actually.
Do you remember, like, the third Gung Ho Gun? He's the only Gung Ho Gun that... Or no, it's not him. It's Raide the Blade. He says this, I can't remember what's happening, but some ridiculous thing is happening on screen, and Raide the Blade goes, what is this? Some sort of twisted Christian science? And it's a weird choice by the dubbers. But whatever, like, weird twisted Christian science is going on, right? They're clearly just trying to discover the secret to immortality, which is what is the reason we're given a lot of rich megalomaniacs do things in movies and settings like this that have a lot of money. They want to live forever because they don't want to, you know, they love power and they love the position they're in and everything. And so, and they don't give a shit about the human cost. And you might be like, human cost? Like, these are just lab rats, basically. They're just kids created in a test tube or whatever. But I would push back against that because clearly I think that they show all the signs of humanity, and clearly they feel pain, and it's just a lot of needless suffering and death that takes place to do this. But, like, I think, you know, the main idea is that, like, this is the kind of world, not unlike our own, where the people in power that have a lot of money that want to, like, safeguard their power and money forever and ever will do it and go to extraordinary lengths and bring about human suffering and not care.
Yeah, I think I'll see how it plays out, but I do think I would want more of an explanation to be given than what we've got now for why they're doing it. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe
when we get to meet the faceless corporate overlords behind the kabuki masks or whatever.
It'll be hoodlum. Imagine.
I wonder if the people that Executor answers to are the people that ran the lab. Because, I mean, they didn't... The sort of weird, like, avatar that represents Headmaster was just like a swirly supernova of light brights. Do you remember light brights?
Yeah. Oh, I do.
Turn on
I do.
the magic of colored lights. Yeah.
The cat AI, by the way, is just named the Professor as
Professor,
well.
yeah.
So again, like, we've got titles here, not too dissimilar from the Akudama titles, of course. So maybe we're not so different after all.
That's right. Yeah. Interesting.
This is also why we have brother and sister, of course, because, you know, again,
they drew the short straws in the fun title sweepstakes.
No one has any actual names in this show. But yeah, there you go.
Brother. I got brother. That's not cool.
Brother. Sorry, that was
brother. You were trying to sound like the Hulkster, brother.
No, I was not. Right, so we have two more questions. These come from Kate Rose. Next one is, after Doxa told Hoodlum her true goal in episode 9, in retrospect, could her betrayal and reasons have been anticipated based on that information? Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because I actually rewatched the episodes, and they arrive when they go into the moon, as you mentioned in your summary. They're going through what is basically a festival of tomorrow, a World's Fair kind of place. There's like all sorts of like, hey, this is a cool bike, this is a guy in space, all that sort of stuff. And Doctor actually stops before a sign that talks about scientists searching for immortality, and she makes a comment that every scientist is trying to find the same thing. But of course, would that not include her as well?
Da-na-na.
Why would she pay so much attention to that? Why would the show even give time to that?
Interesting.
So yeah, there's breadcrumbs here and there. Plus, also, she's clearly been able to survive grievous wounds even before episode 6. Like she literally gets cut up and then she just comes back and like, oh yeah, I just stitched myself back up. I'm fine. I'm like, what the fuck? We thought of that as kind of a black. When I say black magic, I don't mean as literally like diegetic black magic. I mean as in narrative black magic. Like it's the trick of the hand, it's sleight of hand kind of thing that the writers are pulling. But now it's actually become it's become like part of her character. So yeah, I think it is possible if you go back and check for the clues beforehand that they were there, that would have pointed to that. But we probably would have had no way of knowing in advance.
Yeah, can you repeat the question? I couldn't. You read it a little fast. I'm sorry.
Sorry. After Doctor told Hoodlum her true goal in episode 9,
right?
In retrospect, could her betrayal and reasons have been anticipated based on that information?
Well, I mean, I think what Kate mentioned earlier about like her kind of protesting too much and wanting to point the finger at everyone else as a traitor feels a little bit more of like intuitive as far as like how you could have guessed. I don't really I'm not sure. I don't know if I quite understand how those two connect. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, Kate.
Well, maybe her betrayal, I would say, is more ambiguous than her reasoning. I would say, like, we could see, for example, her having an interest in the kids because of the fact that, hey, she says, hey, like, this immortality thing, like how she's also similarly able to recover from wounds in a not too dissimilar manner. We could draw parallels, but the show, of course, sets up so that her betrayal is not as quite as obvious as, say, what I thought, which was Hoodlum's. So they can be separate things, like her having reasons to be interested in that information versus her betraying. They're different things. They're not entirely tied together at the hip.
Right. I mean, that the betrayal, yeah, I mean, maybe it does directly connect to her plan, but it sort of just felt like, this is the smart thing I need to do to survive, to continue whatever it is my goal is. Topping God, I think we said.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we have one final question.
Okay.
What did you think would be the results of Cutthroat's obsession with Swindler? What's the result shown in episode 9, Surprise Twist?
Interesting. This is an interesting question. I don't know what I thought of it. I mean, looking back, of course, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, this totally makes sense, and this is a smart construction of the show. Sort of it's like a reverse shonen thing, right? Because like in a lot of shonen shows, like or manga, the protagonist, the hero, will fight against bad guys one after another, and they are sort of, through the hero's actions, they kind of come around to the side of good and join him. Whereas here, everybody's forced to cooperate in the beginning, and then when they go their separate ways, now they fight. Now you've gotten close to everyone, you've gotten to know them, as the audience, and now you're put through. You got to do the fighting. You got to go through them all now. All the heroes are now bad guys. Heroes in gigantic, humongous, galaxy-sized air quotes.
Anti-heroes. Yep.
So yeah, I guess if I would have thought about it, I'd be like, okay, this is sort of the logical outcome. But I don't know. I guess I kind of wasn't thinking like, what will be the purpose of Cutthroat? But because this is a sort of show we've talked about where I think just kind of enjoying the ride is a nice way to view it. But yeah, I mean, like I think I said earlier that episode 9 feels like the reason that you have a character like Cutthroat. And so, yeah, like you have him be obsessed with her for a long time, and then you kind of pay that off with he's obsessed with her because he wants to kill her, and then you have him creepily stalk her and everything. So yeah, I'm kind of glad. Again, we're grateful he's dead. I'm glad that they've done this because now we don't have to have him hanging around being annoying. So yeah. What about you?
So I think that first off, like Cutthroat going psychotic in this episode. Well, when I say that, like that's the saying that he wasn't psychotic before, but you know what I mean. Like him going to like 11 in this episode.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think, part of the show's building up to a finale, and I'll tell you why. Because we get two characters in this episode who reveal their true natures. The other one being the Doctor. That's what this episode is about. It's trying to show people for who they really are. We've learned the truth about the children in the episodes prior to this one. We've learned the truth now about the Doctor and Cutthroat, and undoubtedly more revelations will be coming about other characters soon enough. But yeah, it goes to show like that there's a reason also why both the Doctor and Cutthroat are animated with like the way their faces are portrayed. A lot of these are very ugly. That Cutthroat in particular, but the Doctor has moments like when she's drinking the wine where she looks like she's put on like 50 years, maybe because again she's quite old, but also she just looks very.
Hey, just that one scene. The rest of the time, it's good. Doctor is good, but yeah, no, I know that one scene is they add a lot to her face as far as lines of expression, and yeah, I thought about using one of those Cutthroat shots as the thumbnail, but I used my better judgment won out, and I didn't. One of those troll face type thing that he's making.
Oh God, you're right. I mean, I'll say this when you said about like Doctor's face. I think that Hudlin probably didn't notice because he probably had his how do I say it? He had his eyes closed throughout all of it. That's what makes sense to me. So the first thing is I think that it's a parallel to what's happening with her. We get to see people's true nature. Like I think our reaction to him for a while was like, and much the same as the actual other characters was that he was a useful tool. Like he served a role in the group. He, saved like Swindler's life a couple of times, and otherwise, fought with them. Like he was an ally, but it's like that old saying goes: like a scorpion will always sting you. You can't take the sting out of that, and that comes home to roost here. So I think in some way it was always known that he was going to go off the deep end. Mm-hmm. As for his obsession, I think the way that he works is because he sees like things in psychotic vision where he sees like the red halo, like he sees that over people. And part of me has to wonder, like, is that truly a psychosis of his where it's not real, it's not diegetic, or because of all, like, it's some sort of like representation of that person's like karma, if you want to call it that, where, you have people who killed a lot of people. And of course, Swindler started off pretty pure. And then, well, as of episode 9, she's directly or indirectly killed a lot of people. So it's something about that. But I think one of the other reasons also that we can look at it is also just be more reductive and look at the construction of the show, which is that they very clearly had an idea of, I think this is one of those shows where they had set pieces in mind and might have stitched the stories together secondly, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I mean, when you have an episode called The Shining, I think it's very clear to me that they started with the episode title first, then built the episode from that, rather than naming the episode afterwards, if you know what I mean. Like, how do we have a set piece where we can replicate the effects of The Shining? Who are we going to do that with? It's going to be Cutthroat, of course it is.
Natch.
So, yeah, of course it is. So, yeah, I don't think it was so much of a surprise in the end. I think that it was just more kind of an inevitable thing because he clearly was coveting her for himself, but he was never portrayed in the way, say, like the Doctor is, or even some of the other characters, where they had different wants and needs of the people that they were interested in, you know. So, yeah, I don't think it was so much of a surprise. As to what I thought the result would be, I thought that she wasn't going to... I actually will say, though, I didn't think originally when I first caught the first 3 episodes show that she would end up actually fighting him. But I thought that rather she would potentially manipulate him into, you know, fighting for and getting himself killed. And I suppose in a sense she did, just not in the way I expected.
I'm sorry, Shadon. The whole time you were talking, I was trying to delete this bot's message in chat. And so I deleted it in Twitch. I deleted it in Restream, but it's still on the actual screen of the YouTube video. So, you know, I am extraordinarily bad at multitasking. So, deep apologies. Do you mind repeating the question one more time? I'm very sorry.
Yes.
You fucking bots.
What did you think would be the result of Cutthroat's obsession?
That's right. I answered this question already. You know what?
You answered it.
I didn't even have to say anything. I should have said, hey, well, that concludes our questions.
Yeah. You could have also said, that's a great point, Shadon. Thank you very much. Also, I will be sending you $500 via PayPal tonight.
You know what, Shadon? You know what, Shadon? That was a great point. Thank you very much. You've done us all a service. I feel so much smarter now than I did moments ago before you had said what you said. So I think the podcast has reached a zenith. With the top.
Do I get $500?
No, hell no.
Oh, stop. Fucking hell. Worth a try. I guess I can't swindle as well as Swindler can I?
No, don't quit your day job, as it were.
No,
I don't know why I said as it were after that. That was unnecessary, as it were. So yeah, thanks to all the patrons for sending in all those questions.
Yeah, thank you.
That's good stuff. I appreciate it. We went long on those. That was, yeah, thank you so much to Kate and son of Rackham. Again, say hi to Rackham Senior. I'm sorry, you're gonna feel so bad about your username. I'm just alienating patrons left and right. But you have a cool avatar in Discord. Yeah, please, everybody keep sending those questions in. And if you want to get them in which we have to answer, subscribe over on Patreon to the Royal Milk tier or higher. And you can ask us questions for these Stream of Thought shows. Shadon, is it time for talking points?
It very much is time for talking points. So I've already covered some of them with the questions that we've done. So I'm going to go on to some of the smaller ones here. And I want to talk about how well episode 9 was animated. It was an ugly episode in a lot of ways, but that was intentional. I loved the close-ups on Cutthroat's face, for example, and also how very disorienting a lot of it was. I think that also seeing when Swindler's going down the corridors of the Executioner's Hall, and we see the repeating warnings about the Akudama going up on all the screens, and how Brawl is dead, but it's obviously she looks different now. There's a lot of jarring elements to it. One of my particularly most favorite bits, though, was something that I thought was quite subtle but worked really well, which was we of course get the scene which Cutthroat has made a pile of people, unfortunately.
A cake, he calls it. A
cake.
It's so disgusting. Fuck Cutthroat, man. Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, when I said I wanted red velvet cake, I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, you bastard.
Jesus. Worth saying that for that reaction.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay.
Red velvet cake is delish, by the way. But
not anymore.
One thing I really, really want to note that I thought was really cool about this moment, not because of the fact people were dead, of course, is that obviously the color.
You need to clarify that.
No, I just what I should point out. I don't want to be taken out of context. Is that obviously the entire floor is soaked in blood. The area is not lit, so the majority of the color is a dark red that you see in this scene with whatever silhouettes you can make out of the characters. But there's a there's a ray of light that comes in from one of the windows that's quite a cool blue in color, and it illuminates everyone's faces. And it really works to show, like, firstly, as a blue being a wonderful contrast color to red for obvious reasons, but also it goes to show the moods of the characters. You get Swindler's disgusted reaction to it through the coolness of her, of her portrayal in that, and also, and similarly, how cold, Cutthroat is in all of this. Mm-hmm. Beyond being just simply spooky mood lighting, the color the color contrast here works really well, and it highlights the moods of the characters quite nicely. So I want to applaud every episode thus far has been really good in terms of its animation. But I really wanted to applaud that small little detail there, because I thought it's one thing to say, like, okay, you've got all these cuts out, but good use of color is also something I don't think we talk necessarily often enough about, or don't see enough of. And so keeping it down to just like this very minimal light, and the color is very distinctly contrast against the red of the blood, works really well.
Did you like the Cutthroat POV shots?
Oh God,
the red ring,
that was weird, because that's probably exactly how he sees the world, sees his auras and such.
Yeah, I was like, I wonder if this is something in his brain, or if this is he's sort of able to view some kind of property in the real world that we're not able to, and that's what helped him survive or whatever. I thought that was interesting to think about, but I thought just on an aesthetic level, those shots also in episode 9 were super cool. They were very appealing. I like the way they look. It made me think, as unrelatable a character as this guy is, right? It made me think, like, okay, if how I see the world otherwise is very muted, lack of color, that like seeing those just incredible pops of bright color in those shapes, and that kind of like just very kind of tangible looking, despite being like an aura, like you said. It would make me want to seek them out also. It would make like those experiences valuable ones to me if those were the only pops of color that I had in my life that I could see. So it was, I suppose, nice to be able to see from his point of view. But they look cool. And yeah, these episodes, they weren't like tour de forces of animation or anything, but like there were some moments. I thought one, I can't remember what episode it was in, but whenever the doctor pulled the scalpel out of the man's throat, like you kind of didn't see it, because they were censoring the gore, but like her hand is animated like it's like it went from 24 to 60 frames per second. It was just like flowing hand, And a couple of the fight scenes early on were pretty rad. I don't know if that was. I don't remember it well enough to remember if it was like this is due to the animation or the choreography or the shot composition or whatever. But as always, like the action is really great in this show. But they dialed it back for the most part these episodes, which is fine.
It's I have to say though, like it's kind of surprising to me to see how the executioners now are all so terrible. It's that old trope, like where once we stop having one of them is deadly, 100 of them is shit. So
exactly.
There you are.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't care. I just point out because it's funny.
It's just because Cutthroat's such a badass.
Oh God,
he's so cool.
No.
Right.
I'll also note, by the way, I love the sense of claustrophobia we get at certain points in this episode when Swindler's being chased.
Oh my God! Like yes, I have noted this.
They really do sell that. Like when she's in the bathroom stall, for example, and we just get like a side-on shot of her, like she's trying to stay quiet. That was, you feel like you're right in there with her, and that there is literally no escape. They do a great job with that.
And even before episode 9, I think you might have referenced this when. Once she's tried to buy takoyaki and then she has to run away, and it's like not billboards, but the alerts are popping up in the air all around her, and you hear like the muffled whispers, like just, and people, there's just a throng of people and they're kind of closing in, and the world feels like it's closing in as she and little sister run away. And it's just very stifling kind of atmosphere. And they really like bring that point home really well. Like I also felt it, and it's good, because it helps kind of ratchet up the tension in those moments where she's supposed to be at risk. But we talked about some things that work against that. But I think these scenes that you're talking about really, really help it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Over to you then, Doc. What's your next talking point?
The moon.
The moon.
The moon is my next talking point. This is not a thematic point or anything particularly deep, but I just love when anime employs the moon as a plot device, Shadon. It's done with more frequency than you might think. And not in terms of like we're an alien race from the moon or whatever, but just like when the show wants to show, when it wants to demonstrate, a show wants to show, that's just, why would I use that word show in two senses? A noun and a verb, that's poor of me.
It's Friday, it's fine.
When a show wants to demonstrate like that shit has gotten realer than real, that it's on, like Donkey Kong, as it were. Then when it's like time for some, batshitedness to go down, we bring in the moon to be destroyed or whatever. I know the moon is an illusion, Kate. It was never really there because it got blown up in the war.
I like what Kate said there because it made me think like how people say like that the moon landings were fakes. No, it's just the whole moon was fakes.
Never, the whole time. Yeah. It was destroyed so long ago.
That's like your Galaxy Brain meme of moon landing conspiracies where the moon landing was fake and it's just like, no, the moon was faked.
Yeah, exactly. That's superb. That you need to make that. But like, so as a lover of the moon in anime, used as a plot device, like it hit me in waves because like when you realize that they're going to the moon, it's like, oh shit, they're going to the fucking moon. Hell yeah, this is about to become a space show. Fucking rock. And in that scene, it's one of the last times I remember them doing the Danganronpa setup where the stage like doing, like and like kind of pops up, and then they have like the really cartoonish looking rocket, which I feel like they've used in a Danganronpa game that I played because they send someone into the sun.
There's a reason that rocket, in my opinion, is styled retro, but I'll talk about that soon in my next talking point.
It was always going to crash. But,
oh god, yeah.
But
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was done, but I was going to say we also have Jessica in the chat. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Jessica. I think she's on Team Moon as well. So, look, like in Dragon Ball Z, we all know, like, when Piccolo was training Gohan, and so this is a pop quiz for you, Shadon. Let's see how much Dragon Ball you know. Do you know what race Goku and Gohan and all of the rest of them are?
I was going to say Saiyan then.
Yes, that's correct. No, that is right.
Okay.
They are members of the Saiyan race. They look human, but there's a distinct difference. Do you know what that is?
Pass.
So unless it's removed, they have the tail of a monkey.
Yeah, actually, I was going to say that, but I remember thinking to myself, like, wait, I've only seen that sometimes and not others. I can't recall. I had no idea why it was not there, but no, it just literally,
people remove it. But it's like largely abandoned once you get into like the Frieza arc, which is the second big arc of Dragon Ball Z. But the story of Dragon Ball is loosely based on the I think Journey to the West and the Monkey King and everything. So there are these races, and so the reason they have these tails is because if they see the full moon, a Saiyan with a tail, then they turn into a great ape. There's huge giant ape, and they stomp around, and they can shoot ki blasts out of their mouth, and they just generally fuck shit up and destroy planets. And Piccolo is training one of Goku's little son, and he has become a great ape because he saw the full moon, Goku's son, and he's causing havoc. And Piccolo's like, "Oh shit, he's gonna kill me." So rather than like cut off his tail, because he doesn't realize that that's what he could do, he blows up the moon. So, no more moon in the world of Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, he blows up the moon. It's amazing.
That is the literal nuclear option.
He took the nuclear option.
Oh God!
At some point in Getter Robo Armageddon, one of my favorite mecha anime that I will show you one day. One of the last things to happen is it's either the moon or another planet. I think it might be the moon, but like Getter 1 flies to the moon and cuts it in half with an axe.
As you do.
Yes, as you do. So, yeah, the moon in anime. It's great. And I'm thinking, again, oh my God, they're going to the moon. And then they don't go to the moon, but it's for the best reason. Because the moon was a fake, like Kate said. Incredible. It's already been blown up. They've done it. And it's amazing. And I love when, again, the moon is blown up here for you. We're supposed to be like, oh my God, like the Civil War was so much that it spilled over to space. This world really is fucked up. The moon has been blown up. So yeah, I love that. More anime should do it. Use the moon, blow up the moon, abuse the moon. It's there for that reason. So
yeah, I'm in complete agreement. Why not? It makes for quite the spectacle. So we're talking about the moon and the space journey and all that, and now's as good a time for me as any to bring up my next talking point, which is about the Expo Park festival that they mentioned. Also, hello, Mirror.
Mirror. You're watching it. Oh no! I'm so sorry. I didn't think, I generally think that most people don't give a shit about Getter Robo, and so I just say things. I'm sorry. I won't get any more specific than that. But I apologize for ruining the spectacle for you. Gomen-nasai.
Welp. Okay, so Expo Park. I get to now mention a film that is not anime, but is actually better than a lot of anime films I've seen. It's one that I have mentioned to you a number of times. I think we need to basically say it's not anime, but we should still talk about it after watching it someday, which is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Why am I bringing it back? Why am I bringing up the Batman anime film? Because in that film, Bruce Wayne, who you may or may not know is Batman, we're talking about spoilers, and I apologize for blowing your minds with that. Bruce Wayne is Batman, yes.
You spoiled me. I'm watching Batman for the first time.
Which one? The Adam West one?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's the best one to start with. But anyway, point being, he and his girlfriend at the time, they visit a futures fair, which features like the city of tomorrow, this bright, shining future kind of thing. It features all sorts of things like an automated kitchen, and also is where we learn about him getting inspiration for the Batmobile of that particular show. Because that's the car of the future. So everything's the future, like, the bright, shining tomorrow that awaits us. And then later in that film, we revisit that same location many years later in real time, like modern day, and it is a dilapidated, rusty, mess. It's it's rotted away. The future is dead. It's a very powerful image, and again, this is one of the reasons why I want to talk about that film so bad at some point. Why am I bringing this up in relevance to Akudama Drive? Because the Expo Park is basically the same thing. It is the promise of a future of, scientific advancement, people living forever, the bike that is mentioned, all good stuff. Even that's why the retro rocket design is there. It's a little even Fallout, shall we say. Right. This is also why the moon being a fake is also a part of that, along with the fact they run out of fuel. Like, it's a convenient excuse to keep them on Earth, but it also serves a point, in my opinion, which is it goes to show that was what they thought the future was going to be, and then the war came out. And now we have the reality that we're in now, which is this cyberpunk dystopia. So that's why Expo Park exists as it is in the show, because it's meant to display like what the people of the past thought the future was going to be and how far away from that it actually is in reality. That's why the fuel runs out, because although the idea of the moon rocket is to take them there, it doesn't go far enough. That's why the moon is blown up, not just because of the plot of, oh, the war did it, but because the thing that we believed was the future is now dead, So that's why Expo Park exists as a setting. It's not simply there because it's quirky, but it goes to show like the contrast between like the optimism of the peoples of the past versus the very cynical and bitter people of the present. And I think that's a really fucking neat idea. Like again, reminds me a lot of Phantasm. Although there's a more personal connection in that film because it also reflects Bruce Wayne's own dead future because he has become Batman. I know some people will be upset by that because they think Batman's great, but no, Batman is a tragic character, and that's part of that. So yeah, I think that's a really, really neat image there, like that they've gone for. Like, here's the things of tomorrow, and we don't have those anymore because there was a war and it's ruined everything for us.
Do you think that idea? It's been a while since I played this game. And I never fully finished it, much to your chagrin. But do you think that idea is at work in the fucking merry-go-round part of Nier Automata?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This cannot continue. I think that's before. Yeah. That's in the desert, isn't it? This cannot continue.
Yeah.
That's in the desert.
But the thing is, the merry-go-round is still a part of that, Yeah. It's that image of like, how should we say, twee happiness, if you want to call it that. Like where everyone's having a grand old time, everyone's like, so it's kind of like Americana thing, and then war and
right, less the future, but more just like the sort of the American dream kind of deal, like the promise of peace. Different from the cruel world in which we live.
Cotton candy, shooting cans, going on roller coasters, taking a date with a Ferris wheel, that
fucking
kind of
castle.
Thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but so, this is the Tomorrowland version of that. Interesting.
So
that's cool.
So so as much as we say like Akudama Drive might not have a lot of substance to it, and I don't think it. When I say I don't think it does, I mean as a relative thing to other shows, and there are certainly shows that is infinitely superior to on substance alone. But I still think that it's doing really well with the world building here and how it's using that to inform like how bad the current reality is, the current present day is, versus the optimism of the past. So good stuff to them for doing that. It's not just there for shits and giggles. That spaceman outfit isn't there because fuck it. No, there is a reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, regarding like the substance comment, I agree, but like we often talk about like the show, what a show sets out to do, its goals, its contract that it makes.
Oh yeah,
with the audience, right? So like, rather than be very, very thinky and sort of let's be the sort of psychopath cyberpunk. It's very much rather than that, like they wanted to make a roller coaster and they put all their effort into constructing this roller coaster, this kind of theme park ride, to just merry-go-round. They made it very well constructed, and it's not just like super forgettable or drab or boring, or it's just very, very enjoyable, and it's a really well-made ride. Because what you're thinking about is like you're speculating on the next turn or when it's gonna drop, what it's leading to, rather than like deep questions about like human nature or whatever. Although, like you said, I mean, there's some stuff there to think about because the show's well made, and so there's gonna be some stuff to think about.
Post show, right? Over to you, Doc. What's your next talking point?
Let's I guess, what should we talk about? We've talked about so much already in the questions, that I thought was interesting. Cause we talked about the stuff with Swindler becoming a murderer. But we can now talk about, I guess, one of the things you wanted to talk about, which is like the online post that is a match to a powder keg, as I said before. That like we learned about like that everything has kind of been fomenting with the Akudama up to this point, and things have kind of come to a head. And Swindler, in her infinite wisdom, as a distraction, because she and Courier, who remains the worst character, besides Cutthroat,
his bike has poor personality. The thing.
He's just
imagine if this was like a Knight Rider thing where the bike could talk. Like, it would be infinitely better than him.
Terrible. By the way, as an aside, do you remember that part where he's like breaking into the SEAL headquarters, not like SEAL, but like the robo like signature. Yeah. He's like, that's a stupid idea. You know what a good idea is? Breaking into Executioner HQ. And she's like, wait a minute, won't that be crawling with guards? And he's like, we're Akudama. Since when have we given a shit about that? I'm just like, wait a minute. Why is that a better idea than breaking into SEAL HQ? Like, there's no reason why it's, I mean, maybe they will have, maybe he thinks that they're guaranteed to learn something that they need to learn there. And he kind of gestures at that, but it really seems like he just wants to do it just for whatever reason.
It works out well, given that Cutthroat just kind of went there for shits and giggles.
Well, it did work out, right? But like, it just doesn't offer a compelling reason. In fact, there's a reason not to do it. He's just like, fucking hey, man, that's never stopped us before. Yeah. And we're like, you fucking dumbass. Like, and like the reason why he chooses to help her. Like, I mean, maybe we'll get some sort of like compelling backstory. Again, you feel like the show is going to be like, actually, he's the best of us deep down. You know what I mean? He's got the biggest heart, and that's why he pushes everyone away, because he's been hurt too bad before or whatever. But but fucking yeah, he's a dumbass. But anyway, they're gonna break into this building, and to distract security and give them something to do, she posts, at high noon on Thursday, Akudama will gather in the square and we will take over the city. And that basically kicks off a revolution.
Yeah.
Like, people are in the streets killing petty criminals, I think. But so what did you want to say about this? I'm very curious.
I just thought it was an astute observation. I mean, I'm not talking about the fact that social media can be full of bullshit, because that's obvious. But I think it's very astute how, labels can be very quickly turned on perfectly innocent people. I mean, keep hearing about Antifa, for example. Right. But it also just goes to show, how when that kind of labeling is employed by a government or a nation, how it can turn back in on itself so quickly, because it's, arguing for, the punishment of people who fall on that label, but they could be perfectly innocent. And it's just so easy for someone to point to someone else and say, you're one of them. You're the other kind of person. So I only wanted to bring it up just again because I don't think the show is trying to go so deep on this, but it's a very regrettably rational look at how human behavior works for these kind of things, where we simply need to label something as other, and that's it. And it doesn't even need to apply. We'll still act out on our worst impulses. And so in some way, while I do think that it's Swindler's fault that those people died, one could also make the argument that the executioners and the government are responsible for sowing the seeds of this to happen, because they built up such a fervent anti-Akudama hate that all it needs to do is you just need to point to Yeba, he's an Akudama, and he just gets his head kicks in, doesn't he? Yeah,
people just need to feel like you've demonized them so much that as soon as they feel unsafe from this threat, that they're just gonna blow up and take to the streets and start killing people. And it's funny. Well, funny is not the right word, but I guess it's interesting that I think a few years ago, I would have thought, boy, how unrealistic that an online post could like make people do something so could spark action in the real world to such a frightening degree. But you know, it's very much in keeping with our own reality that like, yeah, like this online post, it can make people do terrible but also great things. I mean, it's like it's a kind of neutral technology. Like it could be used for great good, or unfortunately, as we know, making a third of the country you live in to complete idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that for this scene, that I would have thought once upon a time, maybe this is a bit of a stretch here, Akudama Drive. Maybe this isn't so realistic, but no, it is.
Yeah. Sad but true. But again, the steep observation
but
on the
also
show.
a sad, but like potentially not sad. That like, I don't know, that like there's power for good there too. That like words potentially have power. I mean, because like, you know, like good things have happened as far as internet organizing. You mentioned Antifa, you know, and things like certain like protest marches and all kinds of things are you know, possible because of that technology.
So I'm clear. I was thinking more about the labeling of the othering of people.
Totally. Oh yeah, no, I know.
Yeah. Like I do. I mean, I'm not saying like, you know, activism in that sense is bad. I'm just saying that, you know, when people want to use labels to mark people as others, if you want to call them that, and then commit violence against them, they'll do it even though there's no evidence for that. And I should note the government is equally culpable of that earlier in the show because, of course, Swindler just gets caught along in all this. And any rational, like, you know, society would have gone, she's a misfortunate victim of circumstance. Maybe she isn't, but you get my point. Hoodlum also arguably so, because he's just a regular, like, common criminal. He's certainly not an Akudama by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. So, yeah, it's very easy for people to fall down the drain on this one, you know, to have no safety net and then just be called Akudama and then that's it, you know. Yeah. And also, I should note that the reason the people go so mad about this is because the Akudama in question attacks the Shinkansen, which I need to remind you is portrays as some sort of holy spirit that the government has built up. Like, it's created this religious iconography about it and fomented, like, real zealotry over it. It's a fucking train! Jesus Christ.
It is a more than a train. I can feel the Shinkansen in my heart. Yeah. No, I agree. That is, I feel, a slightly underexplored piece of all this. Do you agree or disagree?
I think it's underexplored, but I think that it's also fair for the show not to go into too much detail because it's not trying to be about that. But I think it at least acknowledges that, you know, governments can, I mean, heck, you know, like the governments can, like, you know, try and consecrate stuff in religious imagery, and that can ultimately backfire quite heavily.
Yeah, right. It really did in this case. Just make you think of Flag in some way.
Oh boy. God, I don't think I'm ready for Shirasu doing her version of Flag in Akudama Drive world.
Oh sweet Jesus!
You know?
No, keep her away from this world. This is a harsh world.
That won't be difficult because, you know.
God damn it! Don't say it. Move on. That's the next talking point.
All right. Okay. So, my next talking point, I had actually two, but I'm going to skip one of them, to be quite honest, and come back to it later on our Discord. But what I do want to discuss on air is about censorship. We've already tackled this a little bit, so I'm not going to go into this much, but I want to know that, like, when people talk about censorship online, they're saying, like, this thing's being censored. Of course, they oftentimes don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about.
Repeal Section 230. It's very bad.
I am being censored for my views. I am then broadcasting over a wide audience, you know, through newspapers and shit.
Exactly. I, the president, am being silenced.
Yeah, bullshit. But this is one of those times where I would cry foul of censorship, not because I am, a violence hungry, like, I must see all the gore and blood kind of guy, but because it feels to me like it's been applied rather inconsistently, or rather that it doesn't seem to mesh with the rest of it. Like, I don't mind like stuff like being censored for the sake of a TV broadcast. It feels more like, like it's been applied fairly. But something I need to note here is that we, of course, have that very powerful scene of the repeated, moments when the brother wakes up, and every time he does, there's more and more blood. Which, by the way, that's horrifying for a number of reasons. One, it's a child who's bled out on a laboratory table for a start. Two, we see, of course, that the amount of blood has increased every single time. And three, he's just been left there. So, apart from obviously the very visceral image of all that blood spilling out, we still get to, the implications are clear to us. We get to see how it gets worse each time. And so, like, there's no care paid to this child whatsoever. It is awful. It's wretched. It's a vile thing to look at. It is genuinely horrifying. And there's no censorship with that. Which, okay, I'm okay with that because I think it should be presented as is in that case. But then I would ask, okay, we're willing to show like this child being, mutilated over and over in this way, in this very effective, image of what comes after. But then we won't actually show like the death of people we don't know or care about, people just being decapitated en masse. Bit strange that. Now, I grant I don't know what broadcast standards are like in Japan for this kind of stuff, what you can and cannot show. I just found it a bit odd that so much of these episodes were censored, especially considering I didn't see much of that same kind of censorship in the earlier ones. And again, I don't have a problem with like, I must see all the violence and all the gore of why it's not offensive. Like, no, I got the intent clear enough, but I just found it odd that there were some things that they were willing to leave untouched. And some things that they weren't. And I feel like it should be kind of an all or nothing thing, really, where you apply, your censorship consistently. So, yeah, that was my point. Doc, unfortunately, has left, so I've got to wait for him to return. Speak of the devil. Either that, he's having a fist fight with his door. I'm not sure. Oh, dear. Well, there he is. Welcome back, Doc.
I am returned.
Cool.
Sorry.
I actually just finished, so I'll repeat. Which is the censorship thing in this couple of episodes to me feels like it's applied inconsistently.
Right? Yeah.
Where you'll get things like seeing like how brother wakes up all those times, like smeared in blood, and the horror of that is clear and abject. But then you'll get scenes like where they get the heads cut off or whatever, and the thing is like that's gross and disgusting in its own right, but it's not like emotionally horrifying. And I just found it a bit weird that they were willing to show a child waking up in a pool of blood in a laboratory with no censorship there, but then were willing to censor the other stuff. Like, my problem is not against the stress that the content is there. Like, I like the content is cut out. Like, I'm not bothered that I don't see the head like flying off like in all its grisly detail.
You gore fetishists.
I'm not that. But I'm just saying that I would prefer that it be applied consistently is all. Like, it's all or nothing.
Right. I mean, you're also a consistency fetishist. I think
Yes.
if your beef is, hey, the laws of what can be shown on television are weird and arbitrary, then yes. I think that's probably where the fault lies, rather than like with anybody involved with like the show from a like creative standpoint. I think it's just like, what do we have to do to make this like TV airable? And this is true in our country too, in America. Like some of the things that you can and can't show on TV, like the level of violence versus sex that you could show on TV. Is that seems arbitrary as well. So yeah, it's weird and silly.
Yeah, and I do find it strange that Funimation are pushing the TV version as well. But I must stress, like, when I complain about this stuff, I don't know what the standards and practices are in Japan. I don't know what Funimation standards and practices are. Maybe all they got given to stream was the TV version.
I think that's all that exists. I mean, when they come out, right? Like they want to air them really like close to when they drop, and so rather than wait for the Blu-ray cut, they just go ahead and air the television version.
Yeah, that's essentially all they had. But fully enough, you'll get people still screaming at Funimation for all sorts of things and Crunchyroll for censorship and stuff like that, which obviously has nothing to do with them whatsoever. Oh, Jesus Christ. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I think that to my broader point is, there are times when it is valid to criticize censorship of a work. But for one, you have to know what it is. It definitely is this in this case, because you're not mean to tell me like the creator's artistic intent to show like massive pillars of black and white,
Massive pillars.
Yeah, good luck arguing that. This is very clearly censorship. And then, we have to approach it critically, which is, why are we censoring it? Are we doing it consistently and properly? And should it have been done so in the first place? Ask yourself those questions, give it the fair due. And so my point is, it's fine to criticize it, as I'm doing in this case, as long as you're clear why and you do so constructively, and you accept that there are perfectly legitimate, if possibly arbitrary reasons, which is ultimately a contradiction itself, but you get my point, which is why certain groups or parties were not able to uncensor it or leave it untouched, basically. So, just something I wanted to mention there, because I thought, we hear all the time about stuff being censored, and most of the time I'm here like, you are talking utter shit. And this is one time where people said, like, Akudama Drive is censored. I think that's a bad thing. I would say yes, for a very specific reason.
Yeah. So my last little point to bring up is, like, okay, I don't even know if this is like a thing for a lot of people watching the show, or even a fully formed complaint. But let's cast our mind back to the doctor and her, the post-coital moment with fucking Hoodlum. Their post intercourse, and she's drinking wine and looking upon the world that she will conquer one day. And she asks, how old do you think I am? And then she asks, do you see me as a woman? Now, there are. This is by no means the conclusion I'm about to draw from this is by no means like deductively sound and the only conclusion that one can logically come to. There's ways you could interpret this that are not what I'm about to say, and that are valid, and I hope correct. I have to tell you what my mind went to, Shadon.
I have a feeling where this is going, and the funny thing is, I have a feeling that if there was a bit more information, but not too much more information, I'd probably be saying the exact same thing. But
yeah,
please do say, because I have a very strong idea of where you're going with this.
Well, because it's like Gogo Atomic Robot said in chat. Like, up to that point, I was thinking, I love the Doctor for many reasons, but narratively speaking, like, it's cool that, like, you have this very sort of sexualized character who is using her sexuality and her feminine wiles as a weapon. And like you could say, like, it's, for the male gaze and everything like that, but she's like using it for her advantage in the story. And that's cool. It's cool that it's not like, sexualization being forced on some young girl character who's not willing. Sorry, when you said that, the thing that popped in my head was when you get those characters in, and I fucking hate this, like, where the body of a 15-year-old, but really 1,000 years. Like, fuck you. Right. It's not shit like that. It's not like it's not like I don't know. Flip Flappers is sometimes guilty of like the one kind of issue I think you could take with the show is like you have a fucking pervy robot following around these two little girls. And just like, look, I can see up their skirt. and that kind of bullshit. It's nothing like that happening here with the Doctor. She's being true to herself, right? But she is a weirdo, and she is a violent weirdo, and she is eccentric, off kilter, a murderous, power mad lady. And why is she that way? Well, I'm afraid that it's because the show believes in its heart that she is that way, because she is one of those trans people, a gender fluid weirdo monster or fucking whatever. And it's really annoying that even that possibility, it's because the show's like Kabukicho, no Sherlock and stuff. And not just that show, but this is a thing that you see in many other anime, to be fair. It's like the character who is an asshole or is particularly eccentric and kind of nutty and everything, turns out that they're, also not cis. So not a one of us cis-hets. And that there's not like a slam dunk case you can make for this. It's just like one offhanded comment, but it still annoys me nonetheless that it's now entered the universe of my brain. Thoughts of the show.
The only kind of mild counter argument I can make, and this is again based on arguably just as flimsy points as the rest, is that I wonder if she wasn't meaning woman in the sense of strictly talking about gender, but more like a
age
stereotype. Right? Yeah, a stereotype or an age thing. But it's a solid counter argument, because the question she asked before is, how old do you think I am? But it's confusing because look at her. What you would not mistake her for is a little girl, or a young maiden, a young lady. She's a woman, by all like outward appearances. But that question, is she? And so it's just weird. It was weird, and I didn't like it. And I'm sad it's in there. Not that again. It's just like, we've had a lot of discussion, and we probably don't have time to go and do like a really kind of thoroughgoing discussion about trans representation in anime. We're probably not even the people who should be doing it. To be quite
I know
honest,
you're very, very right about that, but it just just to sum up, I just seeing this kind of character and what is possibly a trans person played yet again as like a psychotic murderer weirdo is disappointing that they tie that to the gender stuff, and that the gender politics of anime are so often that
terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to comment on it because I'm not the person to do that because of who I am. I'm a cishet dude.
It makes us feel weird.
all I'm going to say is that I don't think I have anywhere near enough information to make a full judgment on it. I won't hold it against the show.
Yeah.
But if there are people out there who feel differently, that it is something that they find offensive, then who am I to argue? Because for one, I'm not the arguably offended party in that case, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If someone who was trans comes to me and said, I think this is offensive that even hints that this person could be like that, then I would say, yeah, you're absolutely right to be sorry. There's certainly enough, there's scant evidence either way, but that's still evidence enough for one to make a conclusion one way or the other, I would argue, if they so wished. And so, my point is going to be that I'm going to reserve final judgment on that, if I even make one, for what happens in the final 3 episodes. But
I mean, it's not a thing that, like, for me as a viewer, I'm able to compartmentalize it, and it is not ultimately going to have much bearing if it's just this incident, just this line. They won't really have any bearing on how I feel about the show as a whole. But as you say, who am I to tell someone whether or not they can be offended at it and everything? I just thought it was worth bringing up because it just struck me as odd and made me think about things that annoyed me a lot. So I wanted to share with the class. But that's all the points that I have on the episodes.
Yeah. I have one more, but I'm actually going to save that probably for the final podcast, depending on what plays out, just because also we're short on time, so I will leave it there.
Oh.
But yeah, that will bring us... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, we got to rank our top 5 batshit moments. Yes.
Oh, God. I have really legitimately have not been tracking these for these podcasts. I'm so sorry. But I will offer some moments that pop into my head. The fucking Campbell's tin of soup tin.
Oh my God.
Into the eye. That was horrific. I will say this, I said before about censorship being applied inconsistently. There's something about ocular jelly going everywhere that really makes me feel sick. So
just the words you use there are bad.
Yeah, that's what it is though. And by just talking about it, getting that reaction, I in some way think to myself, yeah, you know what? I probably best didn't see that, really, to be quite honest. I will also take the wonderful recreation of The Shining, here's Johnny moment.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Also because it was a little different, mind you, and also because it gave an amazing headcanon moment of Cutthroat wandering around with a door around his head, which is great.
The moon! The moon! Not being real. Wild. That's wild shit. Also, sneaky batshit moment for me is, did I turn into Onizuka, says Jiro the Hero. From Great Teacher Onizuka? I see what you mean because of the hair. You haven't seen the hair yet, Jiro. That's right. Yes. No. Well, no, because that dude's kind of a scumbag. But yes, my hair did change.
It's purely a visual comparison.
Yes. Sneaky on contender for this list, in my opinion, is in episode 7 when Courier straight up executes a man with a shotgun. Because there are things that even this show, I was like, they're not going to do that. They're not. He just shot him in the face. Oh my God.
Yeah, he gave the most horrific one-liner at the end of that as well, where the guy who he shoots in the back of the head, he's like, God, what was that light? And then Courier says it's the end of the tunnel. Bang, and I'm just like, no. Not even 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando could have done that. Not even he could have given that line. Yeah. Or maybe James Bond, I guess it's the end of the tunnel for him. No, that's bad. What else? I love the banter where they kept where the little sister's my sister's not shit. That was pretty funny. That's make
funny.
Me chuckle.
That's very funny. But it can't make this list because this list is a list of crazy, ridiculous, insane moments.
The cake.
Yes, I will allow that. The cake. The moment where the lights under the floor are turned on and the Evangelion it's all the brothers and sisters, or it's just brothers, they're dead. Yeah, and then you get that harrowing but cool shot of him in the fetal position, the camera swirling around him, and then the bodies are kind of, it's very grim and it's very edgy, but it was, and it's supposed to be, it's very disturbing. The moon, again, I will say that's got to be number 1. Doctor betraying them, that was a surprise. You just hey, Basu, I've got this kid under my arm, and I'm turning on these guys. Also, the hoodlum getting with the doctor, totally nuts. Who saw this coming?
And surviving to the following morning without missing anything.
Exactly. And surviving.
He didn't wake up with his feet inverted or anything like that, Yeah. or with one of his pinky fingers on his face or something.
When it could have gone. Yes, exactly. Could have gone very, very bad place. When the rocket ran out of fuel, that was pretty good. Because at that point you're just kind of going you're going to the moon. No, the moon isn't real. But we're in the rocket. We're going to the moon. Oh, this rocket's running out of fuel. We're crashing. It's just wild. The riots, like
they were cutting people's heads off with katanas.
just in the
shit.
I mean, and yeah, the Akudama also. I mean, like, what kind of Akudama was it? Just like shoplifter? How did they? You know what I mean? The Akudama we see are very powerful.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because you just named an Akudama shoplifter.
Yeah.
It's like super S rank Akudama shoplifter.
Jaywalker. They've obtained. They got Jaywalker. They've executed him. I mean, who are these like low level Akudama getting nabbed by like just private citizens?
The public indecent.
Exactly. Flasher. No.
That needs to be like one of those online quiz things where you can like, you know, put your name in.
Oh yeah, tell you what you're. Yeah, exactly. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Your identity is Flasher.
Oh no,
all you do.
I've got it, Shadon. Even crazier and more unrealistic than the moon was when the police chief says we can't just take aim at civilians.
Oh boy, yeah.
That's pretty out there stuff, man. Yeah.
It's true. I got nothing to add to that. All right, time to rate the episodes then. So I am going to go first in this case then. I think these episodes are really good. I think that what they basically try to do is they want to give good, like, big set pieces to a lot of them, and that then serves as a reason to stitch the plot together. But the stitching together works in this case. Like, constructing a show in that way is not inherently a bad thing, in my opinion. And I think that they've done a lot of really nice small things, both in terms of how they've animated it, how they've set up all the storyboarding, all the good homages they've done to like the films and such, like Shining, of course, being the key one here. I think that they've also done a lot of good stuff with the world building in these episodes. Censorship bit, whatever. I wasn't. I think that point you made about Doxter also is like, I don't know. But yeah, I still overall quite enjoyed these episodes. I'm going to give them, in the end, 4 out of 5 tins of real tomatoes.
God damn it!
Did I steal that from you?
You did.
I did, didn't I?
You very much did.
I swindled it from you.
You got me. Okay. Well,
don't say cake. Don't say cake.
4 layers of cake. No.
No.
So yeah, I think I probably have 0.
No, Gero said in chat like this. The show needs a low-level hacker called Pirater, but I've got one that's even better than that. It would of course be Gamer.
Oh, is that a crime? Oh wait, no. Yeah, I've answered my own question. It is a crime. Next. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. BitTorrent offender. So I'm probably gonna go as well with 4 cute puffy red vests out of 5. And because of the things you said, like, you know, the show dialed back the action a wee bit and gave us more of the plots. And while that's not what we come to the show for, it was still good because the plots were bonkers. I really liked kind of the ups and downs of the show. I mean, it's still a pretty wild ride, still really fun. You know, despite, you know, I think my overall biggest issue with it is just feeling like I hate saying these words because TV tropes sometimes is like infects our discourse too much, but the plot armor of fucking what's her face, Swindler. Yeah. Her power is she's got the ginger ale at all times.
Well, to be fair, like, you know, she is saving children here. Does that technically mean she's filling out Swindler's list?
Please put yourself in the penalty box. You've offended me so deeply with this pun.
I can't resist.
God damn it! What was I even talking about, Shadon?
You were saying about how, like, we come to the show for a particular reason.
Oh no. Yeah. So like the plots and everything. No, I was gonna say that the biggest kind of knock against the construction of it right now and the thrill writiness of it, despite it still being fun, like the sort of illusion that anyone can be killed at any time, is ebbing away because of the plot armor, as I say, of Swindler being more and more visible. But I think I probably should give more credit to the fact that she is the one who ultimately wins in the end over Cutthroat. Like, it's down to her planning and her execution in a very tight moment. Perhaps it's just not like not so much the fact that she gets saved at the last minute, although that does happen quite a few times. It's that maybe the sort of flow of the scenes all starts to feel the same, where she's backed into a corner, backed into a corner, backed into a corner. The villain thinks that they've won, and it's in their grasp. Oh, no, it's not. But like with a character like this, I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of other ways you could do it, because her deal is that she's just an ordinary person.
Does this mean that, at episode 12, Swindler is going to say all according to Keikaku, and then we're going to have the incredibly long translator's note explaining what that is?
I hope so. I love translator's notes. Not enough translator's notes.
Not enough ones that are basically entire essays and with Harvard referencing and all that.
Yeah, bring back free Miami Mike. Yeah, but no, 4 out of 5. I was really good. I really liked it, and I think most of the things that bug me I can live with or compartmentalize or whatever. And I think the show just knows what it is. It knows its strengths, and it leans into them pretty well for the most part.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, that brings us to the end of the show. Just a couple of bits of wrap up here, just to make you all aware. Firstly, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons for supporting us, continuing to contribute to us financially, and also just for being the amazing people they are as well, and all their other contributions, like, with joining our Discord and just being awesome. Thank you all very much. You're all amazing. But of course, if you're not a patron, firstly, we value and respect your contribution as well. We recently got our wraps on Spotify, and it kind of made me think, holy crap, people in 37 countries have listened to this podcast, which is bananas. I didn't even think I had 37 friends, never mind people in 37 countries, so there we go. But yeah, to all of you who've listened to us throughout 2020 and prior to this, whether you have been a subscriber monetarily or just for free, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. Thank you very much for being willing to give us a chance and say, hey, you know what, I want to spend my spare time, precious though it is, with these guys. I really, really appreciate it. If you do want to become a patron of ours, first off, I'm not going to pressure you into it because times are tough and all that. But if you do want to send a couple of quid our way, you can go on to patreon.com/Warui Deshou. Free tiers, free levels of access, but $2 is your minimum asking price. That'll get you to our Discord, where you can join us for chats of all sorts. We do group watches, game nights, and then up to $5 gives you access to all of our podcasts and the ability to ask us questions as we go along through a chosen series. And of course, with that in mind, we will soon be coming to choosing another series in the new year for all 3 of our podcast shows, because we're coming to the end now. So that's going to be interesting, because there are a lot of sequels coming out to stuff that we've actually already covered, one of which was Promised Neverland. So that will be up for consideration, I strongly suspect.
Yeah, because we've, for the public side, the free stream, we try to stay away from sequels because we want it to be as accessible a show as possible. But for patron stuff, I think they're probably fair game. And so excited for more Neverland.
That'll be really good. I'm looking forward to that. But of course, we have other things lined up in the interim. If you are a $3 patron or higher, you will have our final Suritama episode coming up next week, for which we have a special guest joining us. I've had confirmation today that she will be coming along. I'm very pleased to announce that returning, we have a Warui Deshou alumni. We have Emily Rand, joining us. She's going to be talking all things Storytime with us. You may have seen her with us previously talking about Sarah's and my, and also, unfortunately for her and for the rest of us, Frank's, but, well.
Also, you should probably refer to her as Esports Journalist of the Year, Emily.
Yeah, I was gonna save that for the cold opening of the Storytimer one. But I'll just have to say she's just some random. It's fine. I'm sure she'll appreciate. But
she's
yeah, we
just
have
a person with a blog.
She's right. She writes stuff. I don't fucking know. But anyway, we'll be having that coming up. Our final pod of the year, because of the way schedule's shaken out, will be Rakko Shinju the week after, Friday the 18th of December. So that'll be something to look forward to. I will be doing more streaming of Final Fantasy VIII. I made that mistake before when I said to you I was streaming Final Fantasy VIII off camera. No, Final Fantasy X. 8 is done. We've got rid of it. It's like, we've left it behind. So I'll be doing more of that this weekend and pretty much every weekend from there on out. I will also be next week starting, it might even be the week after, depending on what date it falls on. It will be it'll be next Sunday. I'll be starting I was starting another stream, and it'll be of a game that you and I are very fond of. Little mini stream every single day. It's going to be Valhalla, the bartender simulator. So I'm going to be doing that every single day, one in-game game per day.
I love that game so fucking much.
I do too. It's great.
I can't. So, I'm so like I cannot wait for Nirvana. God, every time I see like trailers and screenshot, like I go so often to the Steam page every so often rather and look at it and just like, God, I really fucking want it. And that's such it's kind of a like core part of the podcast lore and history is the WD lore and this game Valhalla.
We even did a pod on it once.
We definitely did, and now that the SoundCloud is down, it's not accessible. But this is one of those things that I'm trying to figure out how to best reintegrate, because some of the old episodes, Anchor doesn't like them. So I've got to do some work, I think, to make them a little bit more digestible to our platform. And if nothing else, then I will find a way to get them onto Patreon somehow.
Yeah.
Valhalla rules. Watch the stream.
Yep, so that'll be happening. And there'll be other stuff to look forward to as well. So plenty to be a part of if you've been following the podcast, plenty more to come. And indeed, we are closing out 2020 on... 2020's been dog shit, let's be fair, because that's the way it is. But this being probably our last free stream for Akudama Drive, because we'll have to resume the final episodes in the new year, just again, owing to our schedule. I'll just get this out there now for people who are seeing this on the Free to the Air. Free to the Air, I don't know what I'm saying there, but anyway, you know what I mean. Thank you again so much for your time. Thank you so much for your investment in us. Thank you very much for your subscription. I hope that you're staying safe. I hope you're looking after yourself and your loved ones. Things will get better. That's my belief. There's certainly things I've got to look forward to in 2021 that I didn't have at the start of this year, surprising as though as that may be. I think it's quite possible that things can get better. We'll get there in the end. And, we'll do our part to try and give you some sort of content that will hopefully you'll find enjoyable. And, make things a little easier for everyone. That's the whole idea of it. Totally. Otherwise, if I don't get to see or speak to you all again who are listening on the free, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe, look after yourself, look after your loved ones. And, there's kind of tiny little thing that we say every now and again in the podcast. What was it again? Oh.
No, don't say it. Don't say
what
it
was
yet.
It again?
Don't say it yet. Because I wanted to say that for patrons, I worked on my outline last night of the E-Cell Setup podcast that I'm going to do. That's going to drop. Oh, yeah. If people want to follow you on Twitter, you're at Shadon1010. I'm at The Subtle Doctor. If folks don't want to support us financially, please follow us in all the relevant places, Spotify, YouTube. I found out that a surprising number of people listen to the pod without subscribing on their podcatcher. Please subscribe so you can get all of our episodes when they drop and you don't have to remember. You have your little phone remember for you. And drop us a line, tweet at Warui Deshou, all that good stuff. And I echo everything this man said. We love all of you, patron or no, all of our audience. We appreciate you. We thank you. If you don't tune into any of the rest of the content, or if we don't get anything else out there before the new year, happy mega Christmas. Enjoy the time. Stay safe. And now I kick it back to you because I rudely interrupted you in your closing.
No,
segment.
you rightly point out things I had forgotten to mention. So on that note, take care, everyone. And that thing we say goes something a little bit like this: embrace everyone. It's the end of the universe. Good night.